And so there's some serious stuff going on all over the world.
Bob, I want to talk about the nature of the New World Order, who they truly are, and then we'll take more calls from Jake in Brazil, Kirk, Vanessa, Brent, and others. Straight ahead. Stay with us. We are only 17 days out from my new film to drop in the InfoWar. And it is a mighty weapon. It's a weapon that is self-replicating if you will make copies of it and spread it. Every one of these in the InfoWar is like a rocket launcher. You pop up at mines that have been seized by the enemy and you fire a red pill. Literally hits them. Blast through their programming because it's got the truth in it and it goes around the left-right propaganda paradigm that gets into the real information. You need to picture these films as grenades that you just throw into the zombie chambers. Boom! And many of them will wake up. Just keep throwing grenades. Keep firing. And at the same time, you're not just unlocking mines. Picture the enemy's InfoWar tanks coming over, blasting, firing at the population. And you're just up there with those rockets, blasting them, blowing them to bits, hit them in the treads. Immobilize them, and then just keep getting more of the film out. Go in, throw a hand grenade down in the hatch, boom! Literally, ladies and gentlemen, we are savaging them. They have congressional hearings saying they want to shut us down through the Violent Radicalization Act. They list 9/11 truth groups. They attack me in national publications. But they know if they kill me, it'll be like a hydrogen bomb going off, and we'll just get the info going that much faster because the tree of liberty is watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants. And I mention that because it's such a big point of discussion. Why is Alex Jones still alive when they've killed so many? We got a lady coming up in about 25 minutes who put out an international film about the diamond trade being a monopoly. We're going to go to Brazil in a moment, but I want Bob to comment on that. And they came on her yacht. She's a British lady, and been a member of the aristocracy over there. And they said, you shouldn't have made that film. And they broke her jaw and broke her nose and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, this is real. But she didn't back off. She still released the film. And she's alive today. That happened, I don't know, 15 years ago or more. But the globalists are pirates. Think about New York City that was founded by Dutch but became the major pirate port. They would come from all the way from, Asia, pirates that roved out there and around Africa and Latin America and the Horn. And they would bring their goods to safe haven pirate ports. Well, what is Luxembourg? What is the Cayman Islands? What is the Bahamas? What is Portugal? What is Switzerland? Those are pirate ports. And if you study Skull and Bones and other globalist groups, they made their money out of the opium trade in the British East India and the Dutch East India Company, and they founded it with that, and they set up CIA exclusively in 47 out of the OSS, out of Skull and Bones, just a British chapter here in the United States. This is all history. This is mainline history, just not taught in schools. And that's why they say little hymns and little prayers at Skull and Bones. When I was also at Bohemian Grove, they had all these big banners and plaques to different famous pirates because they see themselves as pirates. And they are setting up a global order where they're outside the nations. They don't follow any laws. They're exempt. And they just destroy nations and come in and loot them and then bring the wealth offshore and finance destroying the next nation. That's why big banks will just give billions of dollars of free weapon systems to a Latin American country, to a rebel group, to an African group, to then wreck that country so that country has to fight them, and the banks will fund the terrorists, the rebels, and the government. I was watching, I haven't seen it yet, a clip from the film The International, and the guy's explaining, they're going, why do you think big banks fund rebels or fund terror groups or fund other governments to have a war when they're not even making money on it? Because they make money on the destruction. These are pirates. And Bob Chapman, I wanted to get your response to that, sir.
I've never heard it more eloquently put. But you're certainly right about the drug trade. And most of the major families in New England and along the eastern seaboard were involved with the British. And that's the, Cabots and the Lodges and the Forbes and all of them. And they were privatizing or carrying heroin, opium, from India over to China. And they made vast fortunes. This was in the early 1800s.
The Roosevelts.
Yes, they were all involved, all the big names. And that's how they, in modern times, they funded what they were doing. But they did the same thing in the Middle East as well. And you're right about them financing both sides of almost every conflict, because when it's over, they step in and they finance the redevelopment and get even richer and more powerful. And this is the game that they play over and over and over again. Yet today, we have radio programs such as yours and the Internet to tell the people what they're not being told in school or in the mainline media, that this is what these people do for a living. And, you know, if it kills 20 or 50 million people, they don't care. I mean, they are pirates. It's quite an example you just gave. It's really excellent.
Well, that's what they say about themselves. They brag that they're swashbuckling pirates, and it's a big joke on all of us. I want to go to calls, Bob. Just briefly, as this guest is coming up later, it's public knowledge. It's a public secret, but most people don't know it. You know, a average guy will be getting married when he's 25. He's making $30,000 a year. He'll buy a $10,000 diamond for his betrothed, and she's got to have it. And they don't know that diamonds are semi-precious, literally, or crap. They're just geographically only in certain areas, so they can artificially control that. And how in the last 150 years they sold this as the gem that everybody has to have is the diamond. And it's another example of a total scam, a total cartel.
Absolutely. There's enough diamonds in the world to bury it. I mean, they intrinsically, they have little or no value. And that value has been created by De Beers and others, but particularly De Beers, which is controlled indirectly by the royal family. And they're the ones who financed all of the projects in South Africa, and they're the ones that used Madison Ave tactics, especially during the after the turn of the 21st century, in the early 1900s. Diamonds became a thing to have or to do, and when Rhodes died, everything he had was turned over to a trust which is controlled by the royal family. So, you know, he did what he did when he did it, and all of that wealth returned to the masters.
And he wrote that they were going to create a British Empire through international finance that would be behind the throne. And again, they geographically control the diamonds, where they come from, Australia, Africa mainly, a little bit in South America. And because they geographically control that, even with mercenaries who they brag they'll send in to kill anybody that tries to mine them, then they call them blood diamonds, anybody else that wants to dig them and not pay their cut. And we've got to ban this through, humanitarian auspices, total fraud. It's the same thing with drugs. They make narcotics illegal so they can geographically control them to make hundreds of times what the drugs are really worth, which then criminalizes everything and lets them take over that way. I mean, so they bring in the drugs, they bring in the diamonds, everything. We're about to go to Jake in Brazil, but he just hung up. Jake, I wanted to hear from you in Brazil. If you can get back in, we'd love to hear from you. But let's go ahead and talk to Kirk in Colorado. Kirk, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Good day to both of you, man. Alex, I've agreed with you over the years on at least 95% of what you've said and taught, and I was curious, though, why you and your fill-in Romero in the past month or two have been down on Israel and are blaming Israel for breaking the peace treaty, and I'd like to know your exact thought of Israel and the Jews.
Kirk, look, we're here talking about economic issues. I try not to get into this endless, ongoing debate. And I get attacked by those that say I'm too easy on Israel. I get attacked by those that say I'm too hard on Israel. Hillary Clinton, who's always flip-flopping, she's been criticizing Israel, so now she's being broiled in the media. Israel is being used as a military outpost. Benjamin Netanyahu wants to attack Iran. That is going to cause World War III. Every military expert we've talked to and geopolitical expert has said. And so, you know, I love this. This is the dumbed downness of the American people. That if I am against what happened in Israel, where they shut down the border crossings and started doing targeted killings, which did break the peace treaty, and then Hamas is shooting these Tinker Toy rockets over, and then Israel goes in and levels, and then now we've got to pay, there's something, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars to go in there and rebuild it. All that does is then embroil the entire Middle East, and public opinion turns against the United States and Israel. I'm saying I'm against what happened there. And then that doesn't become, I hate Jews. Okay? It's totally separate. It's completely separate. And that's all I have to say on that issue. I want to move on here. Let's talk to Vanessa in New York. Vanessa, you're on the air.